Still, yes. Hi, Ray. How are you?
I'm fine, and I think you want to ask me about Spain.
I'd love to know about your trip to Spain.
We prepared this question, which is why it's so good. Uh, so, well, it was for the first NVC festival in Spain, and the theme was bodywork, which I thought was a great combination. And uh, there were three invited trainers and about
And
50
Ray,
Spanish
excuse
people.
me
Yes,
to
what?
interrupt you there, but I just noticed that I'm only seeing the nose up as you. So if you could move your
I,
camera a
well,
little.
I think if you click on the image, you have choices of how much of me you see. I don't think it's recording. I can see the full of thing here.
Okay.
Hopefully it is. And have you got that? Have you got a nice view?
Um, More or less. Yeah. Go ahead. If you don't think that's being recorded, then we're good to go.
Okay. And so it was in this beautiful place near a lake, and this really cool guy called Felix who's been building this kind of hostel-y, camping-y place, and with a swimming pool and sunny days, or at least for the first half of the week, every day, glorious sunshine. And uh, so there were three organizers, two Spanish. Oh, some reminders popped up here. Two Spanish people and Niels, who is German but has lived in Spain for 50, and he's also an Aikido person, so he was doing Aikido most days. But it was just great. I had a wonderful time. It kind of used all my capacities, sort of doing physical and movement NVC, but also I've got experience in family camps and festivals, and so whereas for most people there it was like a first everything. Um, and yeah, I had a wonderful week, and lots of us want to do it again next year, but maybe for longer, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that and what's special about the Spanish one compared to any other camp I heard of is that you can arrive after the first day,
Oh,
and they seem to be able to manage that completely fine. I was told that if that happens in other countries, then it's a big sort of disturbance. But the Spanish were fine with it, so I saw no reason to tell them that everyone else thinks it's awful. I thought just, well, let them let them try and see what happens, and it was actually no problem at all. Um,
okay.
and the food was great, and then but the, the real highlight was for me anyway. There was a sort of presence of Inbal Kashtan. Her books were there and they all sold out. And then she did the first body NVC, calling it that formally. So
Uh,
that was an influence, and we did one of her exercises from there, one of the original ones. And uh, then um, I was amazed when I arrived because there was like a children's coordinator and a whole kind of children's area, and she was going to
mm,
be doing work with the children every day for like more than 4 hours or something. I was amazed because in England that would be paradise for a lot of the parents. Um, but it wasn't so great for her or for some of the boys, some of the older boys, and they were sort of their parents were saying that they wanted them to learn NVC um, and that, and so there was sort of that, well, at least that's how the message came through. Um, so and they were a bit sort of parked out the back of the whole area, and so I was thinking about it, and I thought we could bring them more into the center of things and really hear what they wanted. And so I said I'd like to facilitate the Friday of the festival, the opening circle. And I warned the other trainers that I wanted to be quite radical. And we had a parents' meeting. We had a meeting with the parents, and they had some great ideas actually about things that could happen. But I warned them as well that I wanted to start with requests from the children. and
Mm-hmm.
and then I was there for about an hour, but then I think that they carried on for another hour. Um, and then the next morning, as I was arriving, someone was already, like 3 adults were already singing with some of the children. Oh, and we had a great facilitators meeting beforehand, and I asked if we could concentrate the facility meeting on meeting my needs, because I'd be running the opening circle, and of course I meant including my need to contribute, but as a way of simplifying the agenda, and that worked pretty well actually. Um, and then we realized, yeah, I'd like some physical touch, kind of during, some moral support, because this was kind of a bit of an edge for me. But yeah, when the actual meeting started, the singing was already happening, and that was already a difference. And I had thought about having the children in the center, because the previous day we'd had our first mornings and celebrations. We hadn't done it right from the start, but by Thursday we really needed them. And I put a mattress in the middle of the circle, which of course there was only 1 or 2 children in the room at the time, and I knew that they would go to it. But then almost as soon as the mattress was there, another 6 children came in. So suddenly there's a crowd of children in the middle of the mornings and celebrations, which of course was not quiet, and it almost completely blew away the mornings and celebrations. But Christoph was great, and he managed to hold it together really impressively, because I might have given up in his shoes. So the children had already had some mornings and celebrations, and the parents had really heard that. Well, all the adults and the facilitators, but yeah, there was already this difference, and Niels noticed that the children were sitting on this kind of fallen tree, and it was quite a strong position because it was raised and it was like a power position. And he pointed that out to me, and so we agreed to move the circle so that it would include them in that position, rather than putting them in the middle, which in some ways is more vulnerable. And then there was another song, and then we wanted to call the other adults over, and so someone started a kind of kind of a call, and and then someone proposed another song, and a little one started crying. But we did the other song, and then I could see that someone was looking after her, but it didn't feel completely okay with it. And then I asked, what was it? Why was she upset? Did she not like the new song? They said no, but she did like the ooh. She wanted more of that. So that became the first request. And so we did more, and actually the adults got into it and said, well, let's go around the circle as well. So that was complete. Like, I was a bit embarrassed. It took me so long to respond, but then she did stop crying, and she was happy about having 2 rounds of woo. And I already had prepared a request from one of the children from the previous day, because she'd been saying she wanted to go home. And when we asked her why, it's because her grandmother was there. And when we asked what she liked about her grandmother, it's because her grandmother played only with her. Yeah. And so we asked, well, how would it be if someone played only with her? And she said, great. And we said, did it matter what language it was in? She said, no, she didn't care what language it was in, what language the other person spoke, as long as they played only with her. So she came confidently into the middle of the circle anyway, and made her request. And then this hand goes up, and she runs over and gives this person a hug. And so she's got her sort of stand-in grandmother for the day. And then,
oh, nice.
I know. And then one of the other girls wanted the same thing. So now, there's 3 children have made a request, and then one of the boys says he wants. I was expecting him. I'd talked to him a bit before. He said he wanted to do running games, but actually, when he came to the middle, he asked for someone to build a house, like a tree house, I guess. But he wanted a house, and so he got 3 volunteers to help with that. So by now, I knew it wasn't going to be a disaster, and. because this was gripping, not just for the children, of course, but for the adults. So we carried on through most of the children. One of them wanted something that wasn't quite possible, but we kind of found an alternative, and we said that she would be one of the first the next day. Yeah, it was. So we didn't get to the parents' requests, but we scheduled another meeting for lunchtime, and this was my last day, so it was another reason why I could take a risk, because like it was a complete disaster, I could just leave. But no, it was brilliant. In fact, just towards the end of the meeting, it started raining, and so the plans. Well, what was amazing was because I thought that if we completely had this revolution, we might, not deliver any of the adult program. But in the end, we were able to deliver all the expected adult program as well, because it was just some people deciding, no, they would rather do those things with the kids, and the rest of the adult program went ahead.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was great. So I don't know if Invalda did it like that, but it was definitely really cool. And the whole energy of the camp transformed, and the children weren't sort of out the back anymore; they were sort of everywhere.
Yeah.
And
yeah, very cool, Ray. That sounds like really fun for you, really fun for the kids, and ultimately really fun for the adults.
Yeah, and I think it really was, because this so often the first time you do something that kind of sets the precedent for how it is. So
yes.
I was really glad we got this in. We got this in the first Spanish festival, and there was a lot of talking about having another one. And I'm hoping it will be over 2 or 3 weeks, so that this drop-in thing means that people can arrive, on the dates that work for them. I think it's going to be sort of more into August, because that's when prices are low in central Spain. It's near Madrid.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Have you been to any of Inbal Kashtan's family camps then?
No, I lost that opportunity, I'm afraid.
Have you been to any family camp or festival?
I participated in the first 2 Northwest when I was living in Seattle. Those were primarily hosted by Barbara Larson and Doug Dolstead, and myself and another person.
And how were they?
And, it was fantastic. It was just really wonderful. We had a person, I hope I can remember her name, but she had started a school on Bainbridge Island, and Doug found out about it, went there, came back and said, I found an NVC school. And then we went and talked to her, and she had never heard of NVC. Never heard of it. But the way she was teaching was totally in line with NVC, up and down the line. And we worked with her for years, and it was incredibly wonderful.
And did you have, sorry, your chair is creaking a bit. I don't know if there's a way to stop that.
Okay.
It comes through. But did you have children in the center of things somehow?
Well, I had not at the family camp. I love working with kids, and I've done a lot of work with kids. I was an elementary school teacher, and I was a foster parent with 13 foster kids all the time.
But at the camp, could the children make requests and stuff?
Well, the specialty that was the non-speaking kids, and that was a lot of fun. So really, really young kids.
The very small ones, yeah.
Yes. And so I didn't really participate too much at all during the days, and when people were in session.
Were there community meetings or opening circles in the day or something?
Yes, every day at the end we'd all get together.
Okay, but not at the start of the day.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder why we'd suppose we just automatically had one. Maybe because we weren't terribly organized in advance, and so we needed it. I guess if we'd had a sort of program, well, we sort of did, but it wasn't realistic. Yeah.
Oh, well, the first day, of course, everybody got together. The first 4 hours were spent in full community, talking and laughing and talking about what we were going to do and getting requests and signing chores and all of that. Really fun. We're going camping together sort of stuff. People come to live together for a week. It's great.
Ah, okay. That we also didn't do.
We did that.
Yes.
I don't know what they do now because it's been 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oh God, 8 years since I was there.
Okay. Well, I'll stop this because I think we're going to move on to something else, and maybe we can stop the creaking before we do another recording.
Is the
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.